Hello, in this video I am going to show you how to glaze a pot or a bowl or any type of ceramic piece. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your piece is nice and clean. If you've done any sanding to it or anything like that, or if it's sat out for a while, make sure you give it a quick rinse under water and let it dry. If you are painting right from the get-go, basically you just need to choose your colors and you're ready to go. Once you pick what glaze you want to use, your first step, first of all, whenever you're choosing your glaze colors, there are glaze chips that will go with whatever color glaze you're using, so you can actually see the color of them when they fire. Sometimes the glaze colors are very, very different from each other. For example, my dark blue glaze actually looks, you can kind of see it on the edge there, it looks like a light pink color. And then whenever it fires to this darker color blue. So definitely make sure you check out the glaze chips, because your glaze will cook differently than what it looks like in the actual bottle. So your first step, once you choose your glaze, is to shake it up really, really well. When you shake it, first thing you need to do is make sure that the lid is on nice and tight. Sometimes the laces get filled with glaze and they don't go on the greatest from the use before, so make sure that the lid's on really tight. And then I always do a secondary kind of backup for myself, and I wrap a piece of paper towel around the glaze bottle before I shake it. That way, if something happens and this lid pops off, you at least have a little bit of protection so that it's not flying all over everything. So once you have given it a good shake, you simply open up your glaze bottle and you're going to paint right from the bottle. Sometimes you need to give them a little tap on the table, which will loosen any dried up glaze from the lid, and then you'll be ready to paint. You can paint right from the bottle as long as your brush is clean before you start, or if you need to share with someone, you can even dip out of the lid and go from there. When you are painting your bowl, figure out what size brush you want to use based on the area that you're painting. If you're painting a really large area like the inside or the back of this bowl where there's not really anything to go around, just go ahead and use a nice big brush. If you're painting something smaller that has details, just choose a brush that's going to fit accordingly. When you glaze, dip your brush in the paint, and you're just going to give it 3 coats of glaze. So when you are painting these, the only difference in painting ceramics versus painting canvas is that you should use your brush strokes all in the same direction. Let me switch to the outside edge here, which will make it a little bit easier for me to show you what's going on. Again, if the lids are a little stuck or glued on, tap the lid on the edge of the table once or twice and it should loosen it up for you. Okay, so 3 coats. They have to dry in between each coat, and you want to paint all in the same direction. It doesn't matter what direction you go in. So I am dragging my brush from left to right on this one, or you could go up and down in this pot, and that would give you a nice coverage as well. So when I'm painting, I'm not going like this and swiping my brush back and forth. What happens if you do that is you're kind of wiping the glaze back off and it will become streaky. So go in one direction, lift your brush up, come back, and do kind of the next row. So you just lift your brush up in between passes. So you need 3 coats of glaze all together. It's up to you if you want to glaze the bottom of your bowl or not. I like to leave my glaze on pretty thick. It tends to give a nicer quality glaze. And like I said, in between each coat you need to let it dry. You can kind of see over here it's already starting to dry. It looks kind of dull and matte. has a matte finish to it whenever it dries, and when it's wet, it's pretty shiny. So you just keep, by the time you get around one time, it's usually dry and you're ready to go. If you put your first coat on and try to thin it out a lot, I don't know if you can see the difference in that color or not, but if you thin it out a lot, sometimes the glaze doesn't look the best. Whenever it's fired, it gets streaky. So you don't want it so thick that it's gonna run everywhere, but you want to put a decent layer of glaze on each coat that you do. Try to make it as even as you can, and you're just going to work from there. So when you paint normally with like acrylic paint, you can just layer up your paint, and whatever's in the front will cover whatever's in the back. With glaze, sometimes you can do that, but sometimes you cannot. You can color or paint with a darker color and it will cover whatever's underneath it, but you cannot go with a lighter color. So if I wanted to make the eyes on this bowl white, I would have to clean that one off before I go ahead and paint it. I'm going to make them black though, so since I'm going to use black for my color, I can just go ahead and paint right over top of whatever I glazed there already. So you can do darker colors over top of the glaze that's already on, but you cannot paint with lighter colors over that glaze. It has to be a clean, clear slate or spot for that. So again, if I'm gonna do black, I can just go ahead and let that be. If I wanted to make it white, you can just grab a sponge or a paper towel and dip it in water and clean that glaze off. You can wipe this glaze right off or wash it off before you go ahead and get started. Any new colors, making sure you wash your brushes off. And then, like I said, you just have to keep track so that you have 3 nice coats of glaze on each of your bowls. Have fun. Good luck.